Audiobooks and beyond.
The Following Light, narrated by Robert Wilson. The hum of the engine was a lullaby, a constant companion against the vast, oppressive silence of the rural highway. Thomas gripped the steering wheel, his knuckles a little white as the headlights sliced through the inky blackness. It was well past midnight, and he was hours into his solo drive, heading to his sister's house for an early morning family emergency. Every so often, the faint glow of a distant farmhouse or the red glint of a cell tower would break the monotony, but mostly it was just him, his car, and the endless stretch of road. He reached for his travel mug, taking a long sip of lukewarm coffee. His eyes, though tired, were still sharp, scanning the road ahead and the dark fields that flanked it. That's when he saw it. At first he thought it was a star, unusually bright, hanging low over the horizon. But it wasn't twinkling. It was a steady, unblinking light, larger than any star, and it seemed to be moving with him, paralleling his path in the sky. Thomas frowned, a prickle of unease starting in his gut. He was familiar with the constellations, but this was different. He tried to rationalize it. A distant plane? A helicopter? But the light was too singular, too quiet. There was no sound of rotors, no flashing navigation lights, just that steady, unwavering glow. As he watched, it began to descend, ever so slightly, and then, impossibly, it changed direction. It wasn't just paralleling him anymore, it was heading straight towards his car. Thomas's heart gave a sudden, hard thump against his ribs. He gripped the wheel tighter, his eyes fixed on the approaching light. It wasn't round like he'd initially thought, but more of a flattened oval, dark except for the single, intense beam of white light emanating from its underside. It moved with a silent, unnatural grace, defying all known aerodynamics. This wasn't a plane. This wasn't anything he'd ever seen before. Panic, cold and sharp, began to curdle in his stomach. He accelerated, pushing the old sedan a little faster than he should have, hoping to outrun whatever this was. But the light kept pace, moving with an effortless speed that made his 70 miles per hour feel like a crawl. It was above him now, casting a bright, circular glow on the road ahead. The interior of his car was bathed in an eerie, otherworldly luminescence, making the familiar dashboard controls look alien and strange. He risked a glance up through the windshield. The craft was immense, blotting out the stars. He couldn't make out any details, just a vast, dark shape with that piercing light. It felt observant, as if it were studying him. Thomas's breath hitched. He wasn't just seeing something unusual, he was being seen, and he was being followed. A shiver ran down his spine that had nothing to do with the night air. He mashed the accelerator, pushing the car to its limit. The engine roared in protest, but he ignored it, his eyes darting from the road to his rearview mirror, where the light now seemed to hover directly behind him. He could feel a subtle vibration in the car, a low thrum that wasn't from his engine. It was coming from above. He tried to think, to find an escape. There were no turnoffs, no towns, just endless fields and trees. He was isolated, exposed. The silence in the car, once comforting, now felt deafening, emphasizing his vulnerability. He fumbled for his phone, his fingers trembling as he tried to unlock it, to call someone, anyone. But his hands were shaking too much. Besides, what would he even say? There's a giant silent disc chasing me down the highway? He decided to try to lose it. Ahead, the road curved sharply. He slammed on the brakes, the tires squealing in protest, and swerved into the bend, hoping the sudden maneuver might throw off his pursuer. He glanced back. The light, instead of being left behind, merely arced gracefully with him, maintaining its precise distance. It was almost as if it anticipated his every move. Fear, hot and visceral, tightened its grip on his throat. This wasn't random, this was intentional. He was being hunted. He sped up again, pushing the car faster. His eyes blurred slightly, but he forced himself to focus. He noticed that the ambient sounds of the night, the chirping of crickets, the rustling of leaves, had vanished. Everything was unnaturally quiet, save for the roar of his engine and the insistent, silent presence above him. The air in the car felt thick, heavy, almost electric. Then, a new sensation, a pressure. Not physical pressure, but a strange, unsettling feeling in his head, a dull ache behind his eyes that quickly intensified into a throbbing pain. His thoughts felt muddled, fragmented. He tried to focus on the road, but his vision seemed to swim. He gripped the steering wheel so tightly his fingers ached. He glanced at his fuel gauge. Half full. Not enough to outrun this thing forever. And he had no idea where he was going, just deeper into the desolate countryside. A flicker of light on his dashboard caught his eye, the radio. It had been off, but now it was sputtering, trying to tune into something, emitting bursts of static and then a low, guttural whine that sent shivers down his spine. He reached to turn it off, but his hands seemed to move in slow motion, unresponsive. The pressure in his head intensified, and he felt a wave of dizziness wash over him. He was losing control, not just of the situation, but of himself. He saw a small, unpaved road veering off to the right, barely more than a dirt track. It was a desperate gamble, but he took it, yanking the wheel hard. The car bounced violently as it left the smooth asphalt, tires crunching over loose gravel. He expected the light to follow, to adapt, but for a moment it seemed to pause, hovering over the main highway like a patient predator. Thomas didn't wait. He accelerated down the dirt track, dust pluming behind him. The pressure in his head eased slightly, and the strange static on the radio faded. He risked another look in his rearview mirror. The light was still there, but it was further away now. A distant, ominous star in the sky, still observing, still watching. He drove for what felt like an eternity, the car rattling and shaking over the uneven terrain. The track wound through dense trees, their branches scraping against the car's sides. He kept his eyes peeled for any sign of a house, a light, anything that suggested human presence. Finally, after what felt like an hour, the track opened up into a small, dilapidated clearing. In the center stood a decaying barn, its roof half collapsed, and next to it, the skeletal remains of an old farmhouse. It was abandoned, isolated, but it was shelter. He killed the engine, plunging the clearing into immediate, profound silence. The only sound was the ticking of the cooling engine and the frantic thumping of his own heart. He waited, straining his ears, scanning the sky through the gaps in the trees. The bright light was gone. The intense presence that had suffocated him moments before had receded. He sat there, barely daring to breathe, for what felt like an age. The silence was still unnerving, but it was no longer the oppressive silence of the unknown. It was the silence of a deserted place, of the deep countryside. Slowly, cautiously, Thomas got out of the car. The air was cool and crisp against his skin, a welcome relief from the tense heat of the car's interior. He looked up at the sky. The stars were out, countless and glittering, but the strange, unblinking light was nowhere to be seen. He walked towards the abandoned farmhouse, its dark windows like vacant eyes. His legs felt shaky, his mind still reeling. Had it been real? Or had his exhaustion, combined with the isolation, played tricks on him? But the memory of the immense, silent craft, the piercing light, the pressure in his head, it all felt too vivid, too terrifyingly real to be a mere hallucination. He spent the rest of the night huddled in his car, unable to sleep, his eyes fixed on the sky. Every rustle of leaves, every creak of the old barn, sent a fresh wave of panic through him. When the first faint light of dawn finally appeared on the horizon, painting the sky in soft shades of gray and pink, a profound sense of relief washed over him. The sun, a familiar and reassuring presence, began to chase away the horrors of the night. As the sun climbed higher, Thomas finally started the car, his hands still trembling slightly. He carefully reversed out of the clearing, heading back towards the main road. He knew he'd never forget that night. And as he drove away, leaving the silent, abandoned farmhouse behind, he couldn't shake the feeling that even though the light was gone, he hadn't truly escaped. He had merely been released. And he wondered, with a chilling dread, why.